Hi everyone, welcome to episode 32 of the Knitting Equestrian Nomad podcast. My name is Karina. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my partner, our two kitties, one of whom is sitting in the windowsill, and my two horses that I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wild Adoption Program. They are Mustangs that were gathered from the range. Separately, I got one of them in 2018 and the other one in 2020. So from different herd management areas. I will put a link in the show notes about that program. I tend to feature Odin, my older gray Mustang. He is 11 this year in my podcast. In fact, if you caught episode 31, that was just us taking a walk in the woods. I announced that I was planning on training for the Western States 100-mile riding challenge that I plan to train for over the next 3 years. Right now I'm still in the figuring out how to fit that in while I work full time. Today, speaking of working, today is Friday. It's Friday morning. I have a little bit of flex time. I worked 9-hour days, Monday through Thursday. No, I didn't work Monday because it was a holiday. So I do need to get in about 5 hours worth of work today. And I have started a little bit earlier this morning. I got a load of hay in that was delivered to me. So while I'm in this disrupted state, I thought I would record a podcast too. Anyway, back to the horses. So yeah, I tend to feature Odin more. He's my riding horse. He's the one I would like to train with for this 100-mile Western States challenge. It's also known as Tevis. And then my other Mustang, Bragi, he is just getting started. He's not even started under saddle yet. We are on the path to starting him under saddle. And he's a very different horse. He's only 5. He's much more reactive than Odin is, which gives me a lot of pause as far as actually getting on him, because his tendency, if he gets afraid of something, he's going to run off. He's going to buck and run off and be very dramatic. Odin, on the other hand, is very sensible. I mean, he might startle a little bit and kind of, raise his head, maybe scooch sideways a little bit, but he's generally going to look and see what the danger is before he spends the energy to scoot off. So there's a lot I could say about horse personalities and how they expend energy, which translates into their feeding needs. So Bragi is a much higher energy horse, needs a lot higher quality food, forage, so hay. He gets the good hay, like the alfalfa and the timothy and the orchard grass, and Odin is mostly on diet hay, so he's on the local hay. It's still very good quality hay. I'm not going to say that it's not, because it is very good quality hay. It just doesn't have as many calories per ounce, I guess you could say. So I'm going to tack on a couple riding videos at the end. They're very short, maybe less than 20 seconds each, I think, of some recent trail rides I did. Still trying to figure out, I think I already said this, still trying to figure out how to train for a 100-mile ride and work full-time. I just not sure how that's going to work. I may end up doing the virtual Tevis instead, which is you just have to ride 100 miles on one horse over the course of a few months. I could still sign up for that now. Maybe I will. Maybe I will before tomorrow, because I'm planning on taking Odin for another walk tomorrow. So just to see how that goes. That would be a real sense of accomplishment. The other thing about the virtual Tevis is that as you progress along your route and record your miles, it the app shows you where you are on the route. So I think that's really neat. Okay, knitting. I already described what I was wearing. So finished object, yippee. These are the Beachcomber socks. Let me see if you can see this okay. This is a pattern by the incomparable Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. The yarn is by Legacy Fiber Arts. This is the dreidel colorway with it's kind of bright in here, sorry about that. The sun's shining, which is awesome. So, but this is a really neat kind of wavy pattern. I don't know if you can see that, get my face out of the way. Yeah, it's going to show up better on a solid yarn or maybe self-striping yarn. And Kay, when she announced this pattern, this is for knitting along her summer of stitching, she did say that variegated yarn wouldn't show the stitch definition as well, and I agree with her. I just happen to like this color of yarn, and it just kind of reminds me of summer beachy stuff. I mean, so I will undoubtedly make that, make it again. I use size 0 needles, which I think is, how many millimeters would that be? It might be just 2 millimeters. The ribbing is kind of interesting. It's not your standard 1x1 or 2x2. It's a pattern so that it flows into this lace pattern. So that's kind of neat. But I didn't find the ribbing particularly mindless until I got the pattern established. And then I could kind of follow along. Standard heel flap and gusset. Her version didn't have the contrasting heels, but I had it, so I wanted to use it. So yeah, that's my Beachcomber socks. Kay Jones. I am very interested in some of her other patterns. So what else do I have going on? This project is kind of in a timeout, only because this is the Westland sweater, Berroco, Arno yarn. Here's the yarn. This is going to be the main body, and this is the contrast. So I'm on the yoke. I don't think I have that much left of the yoke to do, so let me make sure I don't lose anything. I talked about this before. The neck is huge. I don't love that, so what I will probably do is knit. I will pick up stitches and start. I'm not sure if I am going to reduce the number of stitches. I may do that. It looks like a standard 1x1 ribbing. Or just make it taller, so it and that will make me happier, so it goes further on my neck. So I don't really want, I mean, this is it's going to be a warm sweater, so I want it to be warm. Anyway, I'm trying to think. There's short rows in the back, so let me figure out where that is. I should have a marker somewhere that is conveniently the same color. Oh, here it is, right here. So I think this is the back, and this is the front. Yeah, that looks right. So here we go. So yeah, just kind of a basic color work pattern. Let me see if I can kind of feature it a little bit. No nifty designs or anything like that. So I bought the black yarn for a different project and then didn't like it. Didn't like the pattern. So then I saw this Westland sweater that has the same, uses the same yarn. And so I just got a contrasting color. And so here's the chart. This is a paid-for pattern, so I probably shouldn't share too many details. But what I wanted to highlight is I only have that much left of the chart. And here is what it looks like. I didn't print in color, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So I did a gauge swatch. I have really been struggling with gauge swatches, so I just kind of phooey on gauge swatches and just knit to the measurement that I need. And that seems to be working okay. Things are oversized, but that's okay with me. The second project I have on the needles that I'd really like to finish soon is this is the Rocket Tee. And it is it's a raglan V-neck, and it is in fingering and mohair stripes. So I'm probably I would say about half-ish with the body, but it's a V-neck. I think this is going to be a really nice summer wear. The fingering is from another project, the Ghost Horses sweater, colorwork sweater that I have struggled with. That pattern is by Caitlin Hunter. And then the mohair was an accidental purchase. I thought I was buying a different color. So in other words, I was going to hold the mohair double with another type of yarn that I have, and didn't bring that yarn with me when I purchased this, and the color was off. So yeah, so this is kind of I guess a recycled yarn project, but I don't know, I really liked it. I have another couple skeins of mohair that don't match anything, and of course I have lots of fingering, so I may have more than one Rocket Tee. So this is by Tanis Lavalee, and this is what the pattern looks like. Okay, and then kind of the best for last. This is a really cool project I'm working on. I think the needles might be like 3¼ millimeters. I don't recall specifically. But this is a sock that I am working on. Check this out. So this is color work. This is the top of the foot. This is a toe up. This this line that divides the top and the bottom is just 3 knit back and forth, and then you start kind of shaping it by picking up stitches, and then you have this really nifty color work. So these needles are 2.75 millimeters, and eventually when I get to the leg, I switch to size 3, 3.25, and I use Chowgu red lace for that. These are the needles that I'm using for the foot. The smaller needles are the Flexi Flips. These are the Addie's Flexi Flips that come in this tube, and you get 3 needles, and it works pretty cool. The stoppers, I think, are from my late grandmother. So she was my knitting inspiration. The pattern is from this book. This is by Ann Budd, Sock Knitting Masterclass, and the sock is the half-stranded socks designed by Anna Zilburg. And what I want you to notice is that one sock is, the color work pattern is one way and the other is the other. I might do that. I'm not sure yet. One of these yarns is not sock yarn. It's just 100% wool. The yarn, speaking of yarn, is, so I got a Berroco. This is the ultra fine wool superwash. It is not sock yarn. So I may not, because I don't really want the heels and the sole to be, the parts what you're going to wear out, to not have any nylon in it. This yarn, I think I got in Wisconsin last year at the Utopia Yarn Shop in Berroco. I don't recall though. I don't remember. There was some clever name. Oh yeah, Wisco sock. Here it is. Wisco sock. This is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. So there's the label. Colorway is charcoal. So Wisco sock. I wonder, is that? It's the yarn is hand dyed, and they use metal-free professional acid dyes. So it's eco groovy sock yarn, which I really appreciate. I'm kind of curious where the actual yarn or the wool came from, but it does not say that. I kind of feel like it might have been made or grown, the sheep might be from Wisconsin, but I don't know for sure. Let me see if no, it's not. It just has the address of the yarn store. So it's a great yarn store. Yeah, so these socks are fun, but they are not mindless. Although I'm able to watch YouTube, so while I'm working on them. So, oh yes, okay. I am doing summer sock camp this year. The Crazy Sock Lady hosts that. It used to be a big deal, like up until this year, and then it just became a lot for her to organize, so she decided to really simplify it. So I haven't officially signed up or participated on her Ravelry page, but I will. So yeah, that half-stranded sock is going to be my first project for that, because it just started it was the Friday before Memorial Days when it started, and I had already finished these socks, so those don't get to count. But so the next thing I want to cast on, I don't know if I'm going to do the Hermione socks again or the Beachcomber socks in this. This is a self-striping yarn from Freckled Whimsy. This is the Harry Potter monthly subscription. I love it. I tried to cancel that subscription, and I don't even think I made it a month, quite honestly. So this is the May, yeah, because this is May 2023, Spells and Things. This is the colorways Dumbledore's Army. So love it. I'm looking forward to getting the June one. So yeah, that's all about that. What else do I talk about? There's another cat in here. Oh, okay, playing with his sock. He's got when our socks wear out, commercial socks, the cats get them for play toys, and one of the cats is having a good time over there with that. So what else is going on? Gardening. Lots of things are coming up. Started to harvest lettuce. The weather has been really nice and pretty dry. It hasn't been particularly warm. Like for instance, this morning it was 44 degrees. The tomatoes don't love that. They're not dying, so that's good news. The basil looks a little sad. Harvesting peas. I had radishes bolt in one part of my garden. That kind of surprised me in that location, but it does get a lot of sun there now I think about it. And then I planted radishes in with the peas on this side of the house, which is southern exposure. We have a lot of trees, and the garage is south of us, so but those radishes aren't bolting, so I'm not really sure what's going on. The asparagus that I planted last year was doing really well, put up a lot of stalks. Can't eat it yet because you need to give it a few years, so it builds up its reserves. So next year, but I was pleased to see everything came up. Rhubarb, oh my goodness, rhubarb. I have harvested at least 10 pounds of rhubarb. I've made rhubarb cake, a couple different rhubarb cakes. I have a whole, probably a gallon of rhubarb sauce that I'm going to turn into something. I made this spiced rhubarb from the Fanny Farmer cookbook. It's a nice, so it takes 2.5 pounds of rhubarb, 2 pounds of sugar, and then a quantity of apple cider vinegar, like maybe a cup. I don't remember exactly, but it uses a lot of I almost said watermelon, rhubarb, and it's really good, like with like smoked meat. If you eat meat, like smoked pork or smoked chicken or something like that, it just makes a really good accompaniment to that. Don't necessarily like beef. I'm not sure. We don't eat a ton of beef, but I just can't really see that going that great together. And probably not fish either, I wouldn't think. Maybe salmon, maybe a really oily fish like salmon, but probably not a white fish. So yeah, that's the garden. Planting a lot of things, trying to just kind of keep the rotation up. In fact, I need to buy potting soil today. Note to self. I'm going out to lunch with a friend, and I will stop at the feed store and get some potting soil. So I can just kind of keep the lettuce and the greens and stuff going. What else do I have going on? My mound garden out, that's on an old manure pile. Like I want to say it's a 3 or 2, at least 2 years old manure pile out there. That's doing fine. Got a lot of cucumbers and melons and stuff like that coming up. I planted corn in a container. I think I either got the corn from the whole seed catalog, which is Baker, rareseeds.com. So it's this corn you can grow, Baker Creek heirloom seeds. It's this corn that's bred so that it can grow in a container. So I'm trying that. And I've also got some corn planted on the Hugelkultur garden, which is a German mound garden that I'm trying out. So I got corn and beans and squash out there. May need to replant the squash because I don't see anything coming up. So the corn's coming up though, so that's awesome. Yeah, that's what's going on with the garden. I was talking about the asparagus. So the asparagus was planted in with some strawberries. There's feral garlic and also feral potatoes out there. I'm not how the potatoes ended up out there. And in the pattern that they ended up in is really kind of bizarre. I'm not sure. It was like they grew legs or something and moved around. But yeah, so we'll have lots of potatoes. I also have potatoes in a potato bag. There are also blueberries in with that strawberry patch, and strawberry, asparagus, garlic, potato patch. So we're going to have raspberries this year, and I put planted some kohlrabi seeds in with, between the raspberry plants because I just planted the raspberry canes last year, so we didn't get any raspberries obviously last year. But there's still plenty of space between them now. There won't be next year, so I'm just using that space while I have it. Yeah, so gardening's going well. Weather's been awesome. It's supposed to be like sunny and 75 today, which is perfect. It wouldn't bother me if we got a little rain. We do need some rain because we probably haven't had rain in like at least 2.5, maybe even 3 weeks, and that is unusual for us up here north of Seattle. So that's what I have to say about that. The light that's coming in behind me, that's just sunlight from a window, so it's an east-facing window. What else did I want to talk about? Do I want to talk about anything? Maybe inspiration. So I have been watching for inspiration to go on trail rides and train for an endurance ride. It's called Diary of an Endurance Rider, and it's a 64-year-old woman who is training for a 100-miler. She is an experienced endurance rider, so she's 64 now, but she has done 50-milers in the past. I mean, the most I've ever ridden was probably last weekend, and I think we rode almost 9 miles. So I have a long ways to go. but I'm willing to, attempt to do some training. So, yeah, that is that. I'm reading. Oh, I know what we did. So I'll post some pictures at the end of this too. We took the canoe out last weekend because it was a nice weekend. Usually we can count on it pouring down rain over Memorial Day weekend up here, but it was gorgeous, and so we took the canoe out, paddled around a couple lakes, and did a little fishing. Didn't catch anything. No catching, just getting a couple lures wet. But yeah, that was really fun. And I think that is kind of it. I haven't been on my bicycle lately. I've been working with Bragi as much as possible in my spare time, because like I said, he's school is in session for him. So yeah, I'd like to get him under saddle and turn him into a trustworthy trail companion. So I don't know whether he will eventually be a riding horse for me, or just end up packing stuff. And I ride Odin, so that's a possibility. Yeah. I'm reading The River Why by David Duncan. It's a book that came out in the 80s, and originally I'm looking on my shelf to see if I have a hard copy or a actual paper version of it, but I don't. I probably gave that away, or it's in a box somewhere. I do have the complete angler though. So yeah, I'm reading it on my Kindle. I've read that book so many times. It is about fishing, and our recent canoe trips inspired me to reread that book. But it refers to this Complete Angler by Isaac Walton, which is a classic book. I'm not sure when this was actually originally published. This version was 1996, but I want to say, okay, 1600s is when this was written. So definitely a classic book. But it talks about the book details methods for catching, eating, savoring all varieties of fish, the common chub to the lordly salmon. So it's kind of an epic guide to fishing, along with some literature. I think there's some kind of wasteful passages, just wasteful practices, I should say. But I will probably reread that one as well. So, but yeah, The River Why by David. It seems to me he uses a middle name too, that I can't think of. But The River Why. So David somebody Duncan is it. So we're at 27 minutes, so I think I'm going to call this good. And I'll see you next time, either from the horse or maybe back in this chair talking about my knitting projects. All right, have a good weekend. Little Friday morning trail ride.